I love your background.
Thank
Everything,
you.
like the look matching the background.
Uh,
That's okay. I'm noting down some tips right now.
okay, thank you. Just fabric from a local store. So
Oh, very
yeah.
nice.
hmm Yeah.
Where are you based also?
I'm based in Louisiana in Alexandria.
Oh,
It's like
cool,
it,
cool,
it,
nice.
it's like in the middle of the state. So
Got it. Is that anywhere near Monroe?
Monroe was about an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours away, because Monroe was like
Okay.
up north. Yeah.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
Okay, I think I have some family who, I think my family used to live in Monroe, like my
Okay.
grandma and her
Yeah.
siblings.
Yeah. Usually it happens a lot of times. People have like I know I have family that they lived in Chicago for a while, like decades ago, but then they moved around, came back here to around Alexandria, Colfax. Yeah. So yeah.
Totally. I could see it. Everyone moves around in between those two. I could see that being a regular thing. I would love to know a little bit more about you. Like,
Okay.
first of all, yeah, like, yeah, just tell me
Uh,
about yourself.
oh,
Yeah.
like I said, I'm from Louisiana, Alexandria. I grew up here, so I've been here my whole life. Uh, I've been doing my own music for about 7 years. Uh,
Oh, cool.
yeah, start off like as instrumentals, but then it evolved into like more like pop songs and things like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I grew up and took piano lessons for a while, and I was in the band for a minute in school and did a little voice and stuff here and there, like in college and stuff. So
So how should I address you? Afro Sensei
yeah,
or
yeah.
pronouns, all that
Oh,
stuff?
he or she. I'm done up as a matter of it. So
Okay.
yeah, yeah. Afro Sensei, yeah, that's fine.
All right, cool.
Yeah, and you go by
Cool, yeah.
she or they or
Yeah, she or they. C
okay,
major. Yeah.
okay, yeah.
Sierra is my actual my name that I go by outside of music.
Originally you're from Chicago. So what was
Yeah.
it like growing up there, and what influence did it have on you, like as an artist, as a musician?
Yeah. So grew up in Chicago until I was there until I was 18. And I think in terms of like musical influence, obviously like my parents are there and they put me through piano lessons as a kid. And I know you can relate to that.
Yeah.
And also I think there's just like a lot of really good musicians that have come out of the Midwest. I think we have some like Midwestern pride about like Prince and Michael Jackson, and we got like Kanye, who's like he's crazy, but he's really good at what he does also. So like
Yeah,
of course listening to all that music. Chance came out of Chicago too.
right. Common.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. It's got a
Mm-hmm.
good music, like a really good music scene in that area. So I grew up listening to things my parents grew up listening to as well, because they were from Chicago also. Um, but yeah, growing up there was great. I learned a lot. I had my family around me. My brother played music too. He like played piano, and he played drums a lot too. So I got to mess around his drum kit.
When did you start taking piano lessons?
Probably when I was 4 or 5. Yeah, my parents put me in it really, really early. So I honestly don't think I can remember a time when I wasn't playing piano.
Mhm.
I don't think I have memories before that time.
Now you're based in Atlanta, right?
Yes.
Yes. So how would you compare the two music cultures as far as like any similarities, any differences?
It's a little bit different being in Atlanta because I'm older and I can actually go out and do things on my own. When I was in Chicago, honestly, for the most part, I was just in my bedroom in high school. I had my computer and I was like producing things or playing piano on the piano that was in my parents' house.
Yeah.
Um, Now it's like I can actually get out into the city and do things. And I think one sort of challenging thing about being in Atlanta is that Atlanta's known for like hip hop and R&B,
Right.
like that's the scene, right? And
Mhm.
that's kind of the expectation, especially when I feel like people look at me, they're like, okay, you're black, you're making music in Atlanta, like you're probably like rapping or something.
Mhm.
And so that's a little tough to navigate. But I've been figuring it out. I've been finding a couple people who I feel like I fit really well with and are in kind of more of a pop groove. And I honestly also have been outsourcing, because I mean, like the internet, everything's possible, right? Everyone's accessible. You don't need to be meeting up with people in person. So I've been finding people elsewhere as well to like help me work on projects.
In Atlanta, but your sound being more indie pop. I was wondering how does that mesh, in that area, because
Yeah.
it's so known for rap and for R&B. You think like LaFace and Outkast and like TLC and that
Oh,
whole thing. So yeah.
yeah, exactly. That's
Yeah.
what you think of. And I still, it's still cool having a lot of people who make music in Atlanta, because
Mhm.
that means there's lots of studios around and lots of events, put on for like musicians that are starting out. So I can still go to those things. I can still meet cool people. I can still relate to them, talk about like what it's like to have a full-time job and also make music, and like
Right.
balancing it all and making connections when it's like, oh, this guy, like this particular person I met at this event might not be the perfect person for me to work with, but they might know someone else,
Mhm.
and so that it still works out. There's still a good community that I can get enmeshed with.
What was like the
Yeah.
first song you ever wrote, and like what was the inspiration behind it?
um Okay, so this might not be the first song I ever wrote, but it's the first song I know I ever produced. It was called Ballet Shoes. So
Okay.
me and my god sister. So my god sister's 2 years younger than me, and she played guitar and sang. Her mom's also an amazing singer. But the two of us grew up always like, I would play piano, we'd do duets, and we'd like write music together. Like she's one of the people who it's easiest for me to make music with. But yeah, we wrote this song called Ballet Shoes, and the whole premise of it is like, not all girls are into ballet shoes, right? And like that should have probably been some sort of trigger for me to figure out, you might be a little bit different. Yeah, I specifically remember that was like one of the first times I really felt good getting into GarageBand. I was probably 12. Yeah, it was super fun, and yeah, I think the opening line is like, not all girls do ballet or wear pink or something like that. And I was like, okay, looking back on it, it's like, okay, you
Yeah,
were a little
that was a sign.
tomboy.
Just stay on the topic of songwriting, Guillotine. The song itself is focused on like a personal relationship and the way that people sort of clash and egos get involved, and people can't necessarily back down from their position.
Right.
You said originally that was inspired by like political conversations you were having with family and friends, and how people were sort of like talking past each other.
Totally.
How do you think that sort of attitude has affected like the current sort of political, social climate of everything, really?
I mean, that's why I think this song, I wrote it when I did, like writing that in March 2020. Like I mean, there's still a lot going on, but it feels like during that time there was like, it just felt so elevated, right? You had like all these Black Lives Matter protests going on that were like escalating things, and you had like Trump was still president, and like there was just a lot of tension, it felt like, all the time. So I think I was hearing all of these conversations just between different people, and I was like, wow, these conversations are just like so unproductive because no one is listening to each other. Everyone's just like, nope, I already know what I believe in, and I literally won't think anything else, and there's nothing you can change about that. That was like, that's where it started. It was just like, these conversations are like, just hearing about them. I wasn't even personally the one having the conversations. I was just like, hearing friends, family talk about having these conversations, reading about it on the internet, and all of that. And it's just kind of stress inducing, honestly.
I think because it was so, I mean, it's still kind of omnipresent, but at that time, like you said, it was really like everything at once. I think that combined with like the pandemic, like everybody being at home and like forced to sort of like stop, is what, yeah. Definitely.
It was like a pressure cooker.
With that song, with Guillotine and a few other ones I listened to, I think Sad Girl, I think was one, and a few other ones, Cuffing Season maybe. It's like a strong 80s influence.
Totally.
Like, what is it about that era particularly that kind of inspires you?
Yeah, I mean, I would totally blame my dad for that. And so my dad really likes Phil Collins, and I got really into Phil Collins. One of his albums, Face Value, is probably the one that like really sticks with me. And there's something about those like 80s drums that hit in some songs that just like, yeah, exactly. If that happened, and something in me is just like, oh my God, that is like so good. Like it just makes me want to move, and like it just makes me feel really good. And I think I honestly think Phil Collins is probably the main reason why I ended up making this kind of like 80s inspired music. And there's a lot of artists who are doing it now too, like the whole 80s vibe with like the 80s drums coming in. It comes in a lot of songs, but I think the reason that really appeals to me is probably because I grew up listening to a decent amount of Phil Collins, and totally blame my dad for that.
Oh yeah. Do any other artists from that era kind of stick out to you when you think about it?
I'm trying to think. I'm definitely very partial to Phil. I don't know if was Daft Punk making music back then.
I don't think
they might have been more 90s.
Yeah, maybe early 90s when they were kind of underground. They broke up actually, which is sad, but yeah.
I know, so sad. But Daft Punk's another big influence for me. I know, they were a little later, but in terms of like older music, that was another one that really stuck with me.
Getting back to Guillotine, for the video, what were the inspirations? What's the inspiration behind the visuals for that?
So big thank you to my friend Danny Harris. This was a lot of her doing. Danny and I have known each other since 2016. And I've known that she makes music videos since like 2018. Since then, we're like, okay, when the time comes, we're going to make a music video together. We got to make this happen. Unfortunately, it was in the middle of a pandemic, so I couldn't go and like visit her. She's in Philadelphia. But we did it all over Zoom. So we had a bunch of calls kind of talking about, you know, like, what do you like visually? What do you, she like kind of proposed a couple different things to me. And she's like, okay, I like this idea of like having some hands on your face, like some disembodied hands touching your face, manipulating your face. I'm like, okay, this is good. I like where this is going. And we kind of developed this like storyboard, this storyline of like, hey, like these hands kind of come in your life, kind of like a relationship. They kind of manipulate you and might mess you up a little bit.
All right.
But then at some point they're like, and if you watch the video through with this kind of mindset, like the white is kind of like your pure, like just yourself that's like can never really be affected by anyone else, like on the outside. And the more colorful ones, like the, you know, the blue and the yellow, that's when the hands start coming in, start adding paint, start rubbing things around, start rummaging around a little too much, is a little destructive in a way. And you notice it lands back on that white, kind of saying like, you know what, if you want to, you can cut whatever this is out, and you can still have that baseline of yourself that you started with at the beginning of all of this. Like, it might not be as bright and colorful as it was when that person was around, but you can build that part back up by yourself. And there's still something, there's a part of you that's left still. I filmed the whole thing in my apartment. It was
DIY,
with my phone.
I get it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So just trying to make it work with what we can. Literally just bought a bunch of stuff on Amazon, like bought the backgrounds, bought the paint, bought a bunch of rhinestones to put on my face and some random outfits that matched, and filmed it with my phone. I literally I taped a tripod to my mic stand so that I could get it to like be, you know, like parallel with the floor so that I could film myself laying down. But yeah, it was a bit of a project. It was a lot of work. Yeah, it was just a lot of work. And I think if there was someone who like really knew what they were doing that was there, or was like directing it, would be a lot more helpful. So hopefully the next time I'll be able to go up to Philly and actually film one with Danny.
I mean, it turned out great from what I saw. You wouldn't know that you've filmed something in your apartment. So yeah, but like I said, I get it. I may have to try taping the iPhone to the microphone and see. I may have to try it for one of mine. So.
Exactly. It's tough. Just gotta make it work with what you have.
This kind of ties into what you were saying earlier about you wrote a song called Ballet Shoes early on, and sort of thinking back and knowing that maybe that sort of was the clue in that you were different. How important do you think it is for LGBTQ artists to be open about our gender identity, our sexual orientation?
I mean, I think it's really important. I think if you're in a place where you are, of course, safe enough to do that, because not everyone has like the privilege of being in a place where you can be safe enough to like be very open. But I think if you can, like, it's super important, because I feel like I think music is like this. I think so many people say music is like a universal language, right? And I think it can help to bridge a lot of gaps between people who might, you know, think like, oh, you know, like gay people or queer people, I'm just kind of like, you know, keeping them at a distance and don't really care to understand or like befriend those kinds of people. I think when you're more open about that and people can like relate to their music, they can see like, oh, you know what, like maybe we're all more similar than I thought, you know? And I think that's like a beautiful thing about music. I think it can make you realize you're so much more similar to other people than you realize. Because I feel like our human experience, there are of course some differences, but there's so much more that we have in common and so much more that we can relate to than we probably will ever know. So I think, yeah, music's a good way to kind of let people into that and kind of give them like, oh, okay, a little bit of understanding, like, okay, they're similar to me. Like, okay, Sierra, like if someone else who's nothing like me, you know, it's just like, oh, you know, I deal with the same thing, like talking to people and them like not listening to me and like their ego getting in the way. And it's like really frustrating. And you'd be like, same.
Yeah.
Like we both have the same situation. Like maybe we're on different sides of it or whatever, but we all have like, I don't know, similar feelings and
Right.
similar things we go through. So
Yeah, the more people that sort of open about it, the less of a novelty it is my
totally.
point of view about it. Yeah. So get into a music question, just I guess a
Yeah.
little lightning round. What would be your 3 dream collaborations?
Oh man. Okay. So definitely Christine and the Queens. Do you know Christine and the
No, I
Queens?
don't actually.
If you don't, she's a queer French artist and she's makes like kind of like indie pop. She's a big source of my influences. So if you like my music, you definitely need to check her out because she's amazing. Um, probably, I'm trying to be smart about this. Probably 070 Shake. 070 Shake makes really cool music. I feel like it's like indie hip hop. I think she's on like Kanye's label.
All right.
But I don't know, her music, she's like another just queer person. I feel like all of my influences and all the people I want to work with are like queer people, and it just is what it is. I just think they're really cool. Yeah, and she's like another she's like a mask presenting queer woman, and her music is just so cool. Like her song "Guilty Conscience." If you need to start anywhere, that's the place to start. Yeah, I would just probably Troye Sivan. Troye Sivan's another favorite.
I think I've heard of him. He's I think
He's in New Zealand.
Okay. Yeah.
Or Australian, one of those two in that area. But Troye Sivan is another one of my huge influences, another queer artist, because that's what I do and I can't help myself.
No problem. I mean,
yeah. Queer artists who make pop are just like, I want to be everyone's friend. I'm like, please just adopt me into your little.
Last question. What are you working on this upcoming that we can expect in the future?
Yeah, so the EP that Guillotine is on. So my EP that Guillotine is on is coming out April 16th. It's gonna be my first EP, so I'm super psyched about it. And yeah, it's got Guillotine on it, which is already released, Summer Drug, which is also already released, and then 3 other songs that no one has heard yet. So I'm very excited about that. And then I've got a couple other songs that are kind of locked and loaded for the rest of the year that I'm gonna try to release at some point throughout the year. Haven't really figured out the release schedule for it. And I'm also really, really hoping to get in another visual this year. I'm hoping to get another music video out there. Because music videos, I didn't realize how much people like music videos. I mean, I maybe this is just a complete oversight on my end, but I feel like I'm one of those people who it's like, oh, I like the music. I'm just going on Spotify and listening to it over and over. And half the time I don't have any idea what the music video looks like, what the visuals look like, or anything. But yeah, music videos make a big difference, and they're cool, and they're pretty, and you can really just show another side of yourself.
Yeah.
Is what I'm realizing. And it just forces, at least for me, it forces me to kind of like stretch my creative muscle a little bit into that more like visual realm. Because I'd say for a long time that visual stuff was not coming naturally to me. And it isn't until recently where I'm like, okay, kind of embrace that, kind of like try some different things, try some different outfits, put rhinestones on your face, like like do different things, like switch it up and see how it feels and all of that. And that's been like a really, really fun source of like exploration and just novelty for me. So I think, yeah, I'm excited for the possibility of also putting out another visual this year.
Does the EP have a title?
Yes, it's called Side Effects.
Side Effects. All right. Okay.
Yeah. Yep.
When do you think that'll be in maybe later this year, maybe in the summer or in the fall?
It'll be mid-April. Yeah. April 16th. Yeah, it's
right.
coming up.
Yeah, it's all right.
Almost here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Friday after next.
Yep. Exactly. So it's on the way, and I'm just so excited because I think the songs were done in like September of last year or something. So I've just been like kind of working on things, building up to it, obviously working on the music video and getting everyone working on it. So it's been a while that I've had these songs, and I'm just excited to share them. I think that most of the songs were honestly written by March, April of last year, and then they were like fully produced by September. So it's just like, oh, I've had these songs for so long, it feels like almost a year, and I'm just like ready for everyone to hear them. I'm just excited for it.
Yeah. Well, thank you, C Major, for being the second guest on our Afro Sensei show. So thank you for taking the time to talk
Yeah,
with me.
of course. All right. It was so great meeting you.
Nice meeting you too. So I'm looking forward to
All
seeing
right.
another visual and hearing the album when it comes out. So
Awesome. Thanks for having me on.